What's up everyone, Brian Phobos here. Today we're going to talk about RaiBlocks. I FOMO'd in my pants over this one. If I sound a little bit sick, the Arizona winters are pretty harsh. I do have a cold. It'll make me feel so much better if you subscribe and like the video. We're trying to get to 500,000 subscribers by the end of 2018. And 2018 is the year you're going to get bitty rich. Tell yourself that, believe it. You're going to get bitty rich. So out of nowhere, RaiBlocks just surged up to the first page of CoinMarketCap. It is in 17th position, $3.6 billion at this point. And yesterday I actually bought it. I did this video yesterday, but it got messed up and now I'm having to redo it. But essentially there's been a slight pullback. Not super surprised on that, but this thing was barely lucky a month ago to be on the third page of CoinMarketCap, and then it has just made this unbelievable parabolic move. Now, is it all hype? Is this a coordinated pump? Or is this, is there something legitimate behind this? So if you look at the circulating supply and the max supply, all coins are in circulation at this given time. They distributed it through a faucet, and it looked like some people were able to game the faucet from some of the YouTube videos I watched. But essentially it looked like it was just basically just distributed out there essentially for free, it looked like. So very, very interesting, but this project has actually been around for a while, but this iteration of the coin appears to have launched in March of 2017. Now, one of the reasons we want to do these deep dives on videos is for situations like this. Quark actually got to the 6th position on CoinMarketCap back in 2013. I was actually mining it over here, and then boom. I was like, wow, crypto's awesome. So and it looked like a lot of reasons, were kind of pointing towards Quark being something that was going to stick around, and then it slid and slid and slid. It went through the nuclear winter, and then it's never been able to quite regain what it had back here. And you see it in the 516th place. It was in 6th place in 2013 on CoinMarketCap. So we don't want that to happen to your coins. That's why we do these deeper dives. So let's get a little bit further into it. The one main thing with this coin, let's go ahead and pause this and go, but it is feeless, no fees, and essentially instant transactions. So let's start this. You'll see the transfer is going to come from this wallet over to this wallet, and the timer is going to be there. So boom, send. Watching this. Boom, it's there. 3 seconds. Pretty much 3 seconds, guys. So that's awesome, obviously. And then no fees. In Bitcoin, I spent $59 to send Bitcoin. Like a week ago, I about freaking punched my monitor. I was so mad. And we're sick of it, basically. Bitcoin's kind of acting like a dinosaur there. It's just super slow. The fees are out of control. And it seems like the core developers aren't moving forward to try to scale it. So other things like this have a shot. Let's look at the Google Trends. So Google Trends is kind of a reactionary thing to when the price shoots up, people want to find out more about, so they're going to search. So I compared RaiBlocks, Electroneum, and Monero. RaiBlocks hitting an all-time high right now because the price is hitting an all-time high, and Electroneum and Monero have hit their highs a little bit earlier, and so the search volumes just went down a little bit, but this almost has as much search volume as Electroneum. Electroneum was the most widely distributed ICO at 120,000 people participating in the ICO, and there were 300,000 people who wanted to participate in it. So that's kind of interesting that RaiBlocks has this much, search traffic and everything. And where's the traffic coming from? Well, all over the world, but there is a ton of traffic coming out of Venezuela. It makes sense. They have a currency crisis going on. The government has overinflated their currency. For us, I don't know where you're at. You might be in Venezuela if you're watching this. You might be in Western Europe. You might be in Australia. You might be in the United States. I'm in the United States. And for us, cryptocurrency is more of a speculative investment, but for people in countries like Venezuela, it's an exit strategy. They are trying to run from their fiat currency. They want crypto to preserve their work, their capital, and their livelihood. So we're going to continue to see that in places like Venezuela, Zimbabwe, so on and so forth. So let's go a little bit further into it. The RaiBlocks website. And I wanted to point out with the wallet, there is the web wallet. That's actually what this is. I did make a speculative investment with RaiBlocks. And I just want to, tell you that I am going to say some stuff that's maybe perceived as negative towards RaiBlocks, but I don't want to just candy coat everything. I have taken a position in it, so I see positives and negatives. I don't want to be like the YouTubers who just, pop in and they kind of just lightly talk about a coin. They're not really doing a deep dive, and then they just talk positively about every project, basically because that'll actually get you more views and more subscribers, because a lot of you watching this video have probably already bought into RaiBlocks, and you want to have like that affirmation and see somebody else say something positive about it, so it should be like, yeah, I did make the right decision. So there's a lot of that kind of going on. So a lot of these YouTubers never say anything negative about a coin, because when you do, you just don't get as many hits. Now, one of the things that we can see with RaiBlocks is that the markets it's trading on are these that I've never heard of. And I've been around since 2013. I have accounts at probably a dozen different exchanges. And the fact that I've never heard of these, I was like, what? But anyway, I did use BitGrail. It worked fine. Everything was good. Now, the minimum withdrawal when I did it yesterday morning was pretty much 10 RaiBlocks. Now I guess they've lowered that to 1, but I did see on Reddit they were having a little bit of problem with withdrawals and deposits, because one of the nodes was getting overloaded with so much interest in this coin. So they're getting that updated. Should be back up soon. But this worked fine. There's two-factor authentication. I didn't feel like it was shady. It was actually kind of a cool little site. And everything worked fine and went through. And I know another person that used it too, and they didn't have any issues either. So let's get back into this. Now, one of the things I wanted to say that's a positive is the development. There are tools to develop with. This is going to become very important. If RaiBlocks is supposed to be this feeless, split transactions, peer-to-peer digital currency, you're going to need development tools so that you can make WordPress plugins, that kind of stuff, and the ecosystem can get built out. And they do have several tools that people can develop in different languages, so that's definitely a positive. So let's get in, before we get into the white paper, I just want to look at the GitHub. And one of the things I want to point out is this project's actually been going on for way longer than just like March 2017. The code actually goes, clear back years. So you see like 3 years ago, 3 years ago, 3 years ago, but also it's being actively maintained as well. The latest commit is 3 days ago. So you have stuff that was done years ago, and you have stuff that was done days ago. It's actively being worked on. That's a positive sign. This isn't a fly-by-night money grab like some of the Bitcoin forks have been, like that latest SegWit 2x garbage coin. Those are just money grabs. They just kind of pop out of nowhere and try to get a quick buck, and that's not what RaiBlocks is. So that's a positive. Let's get into the white paper. Actually, a super good white paper. It is technical from kind of a verbiage standpoint, and also because this is somewhat of a new technology. They're using this block lattice structure where every transaction actually has 2 transactions within it. And they explain through that. It's a little bit difficult. Typically when you're looking at this, especially since it's so new, it's like you really rack your brain and think, okay, can this work, or is there any kind of issue with this that's going to cause this to collapse essentially? Now, one interesting thing is in every single wallet, you actually have your own little blockchain, and each transaction is in its own block. So let's say you send something, the whole block, this is what it contains, just that one transaction, and then the wallet receiving it is going to have its own very own block with this receiving information in it. I think it's very interesting. So everybody's wallet is like a little mini blockchain, that all then connects back to sort of the main record of all the transactions that are run on these nodes. Now, if you think about Bitcoin, there's 10-minute blocks, and in a block there can be hundreds and potentially over 1,000 transactions in each block. This is doing a little bit different, you know, with each transaction being in its own block. So that's very interesting. Now, going forward, the white paper did a good job of addressing these different issues, because the problem with having no fees on a blockchain is that it can get spammed a ton. So let's say with your email, how many times have we just got spammed like out of control with Viagra ads and all this other stupid stuff? And it's because email is free, and so kind of scammers, they just can just blow this out with a negligible cost because there's no cost to the emails. And so that same thing can actually happen on a blockchain where all the blocks could get filled up with people sending all these spam transactions to maybe send a message across, or you know, different reasons they might do it to promote something, you know, some kind of site or a domain name or something to get you to click on it, which might end up being like a virus or something. So that's always an issue. But they addressed these different attacks, you know, transaction flooding, Sybil attack, penny spend attack, pre-computed proof of work attack, greater than 50% attack, which is the 51% attack essentially. And they did a good job of explaining those. You can definitely go in here and look at these. But the one thing I want to say is, with any of these attacks, if the system is done right, any attack becomes way too costly to launch the attack versus just actually acting, you know, if you just act proper in the system, that's actually more advantageous than trying to attack the chain. So they explain that, and kind of the costs associated with it, that it would be too much. So they're using kind of a delegated proof of stake situation, and in a situation where there is a double spend, then it'll go with the person with the most stake. If two people were running nodes and one particular node had no stake and they didn't own a bunch of coins, it would actually default to another node who, let's say, had 1 million coins. And then it'd be like, well, we're going to trust their word because they're probably not trying to screw the system over, because once the system's screwed over, the price could end up tanking because people lose faith in the system. That's going to make a little bit more sense when I show you this. So Steem actually uses delegated proof of stake. So let's say I voted for these witnesses. The witnesses are like the miners in Steem. And let's say I'm like, oh, Jesta, he's a great developer, and Good Karma's a great developer. I want to give them my vote. I trust them. They're really trying to build this community and be good. You know, so suddenly they end up being the miners processing the blocks and not somebody who we don't trust. Now, let's just pretend Jerry Banfield, let's say he gets in there and starts taking some naked selfies and putting them on Steem, and I'm just like, man, just get this guy out of here. And then I decide to take my vote away from him, then he would slip down and then, you know, maybe fall into obscurity, and his witness node would be unprofitable. Now, I don't think Jerry's going to do that. Jerry's a good guy. He means well, so he's got my vote. But you get what I'm saying. Like, anybody who's not sort of acting in accordance to what we kind of think as being a good community member, they're not going to be able to mine the blocks and sort of take over. Now, let's get a little bit more into this. And so, like I said, BitGrail did work, and then I used the Ray wallet. You do control your keys on this. And when I bought it, it was like $27, and it went up to $33 or something. Now it's pulled back to this. And again, as a speculative investment, you know, I could get dropped on my head here. I wanted to get involved because I think that this has the potential to get in the top 10 on CoinMarketCap, but this is an aggressive move and could certainly pull back. And it's not on major exchanges. They are trying to get on Binance. there is a voting thing on Binance. It probably will get added soon. And, you know, so the exchange situation is somewhat of a disadvantage at this point. And this could have been a coordinated pump initially, but now the volumes have gotten so high that I don't think it's a coordinated pump. It probably started as a coordinated pump and turned into FOMO. And so then now there's like more legitimate, like everybody's trying to spill in and get it. So let's go back to the white paper again and kind of finish out with that. So you can read about these tax. They did a good job explaining that. And one thing I wanted to mention down here, this is very interesting. So every time you send a transaction, you're actually doing the proof of work on your own block, on that own transaction. And so this is one of the reasons why the attacks would end up being costly at a large magnitude, because let's say you have an Intel Core i7 and you're in Firefox like I'm in, it is going to process the transaction. If you see up here, it says waiting for proof of work. You know, so it will do some proof of work here in your browser briefly, and it's going to happen extremely quick. But if you think, let's say if somebody launched 1,000 nodes on virtual machines, then it would end up, all that added up would end up costing a bunch of money to try to orchestrate that. So it's, you know, if you're on that, transactions per second, you know, 0.14, but you saw essentially a transaction in the little video we watched is basically 3 seconds, no fees. So here's, and that's all I want to say about the white paper. This is actually a really good white paper. I've read so many white papers, and tons of them are almost like technical / non-technical people trying to sound more technical and trying to sort of dupe non-technical people into just kind of something that really is nonsensical. This white paper makes sense. This is actually a very good white paper. So moving forward, and let's talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages to this system. So again, clear advantage, no fees, split-second transactions, and if you're trying to be peer-to-peer digital cash, those things kind of have to be in place. Now, the dev tools that I talked about before, people can develop on this. They have the tools to potentially make WordPress plugins, or, you know, all kinds of different tools, mobile wallets, that kind of stuff. You know, and then you don't have the miners. There's nobody mining this coin because you're mining your own block, like in your browser. You know, so you don't have miners who have to pay off their GPUs and the electricity to where they, you know, might turn around and dump the coin. You have the people that got it out of a faucet earlier on, and they might dump the coin as this has gone up. But, you know, to what effect that's going to have it initially, probably will have an aggressive sell-off at some point, and this probably will fall. But it's hard to say. If you get the inflow enough, it could keep going. And my whole thing of making the speculative investment was because I thought it's got a chance to get in the top 10, especially if it gets added to Binance, because that's a whole nother pool of liquidity to kind of pump into this thing. So there's no inflation at all as far as new coins coming in. All the coins that are out there are in circulation right now. So you don't have these additional coins coming in that can sort of dilute the market. For instance, with Bitcoin, you've got about 4% inflation each year right now with the current block reward. And what I mean by that, there's 4% more coins, let's say, gonna be here like in 2018 than there was last year. It's gonna add 4%. Steem has about 9% inflation right now. So there's 9% new coins coming in. Now those coins go to pay for people who are blogging out here. You know, that's what this money is coming from the reward pool of the new coins coming into existence. And the witnesses, they get paid out of that reward pool to maintain these servers that are actually, you know, kind of mining or processing the blocks. Now, as time goes on, both Bitcoin, obviously there'll be a halving event, So then later on, there'll be half the amount of coins each block that there is right now. And with Steem, it's the same way. Every year, the inflation is going to go down by 1%. So next year it'll be like 8%, and the following year 7%, so on and so forth. So over time, the supply gets more restricted and more restricted. And as adoption grows, the price goes up, the supply gets more restricted. That kind of feeds into each other for the price going up. Just like precious metals, it was easy to get gold back in the day. It's no longer easy. You have to process through tons of ore to get an ounce of gold, kind of thing. So you guys understand that. Now, I didn't see that there's any necessarily funding set aside for continued development and marketing with this coin. Usually projects that started earlier before this whole ICO craze oftentimes didn't have money set aside, but if they were able to, let's say, get a bunch of the coins out of the faucets and they had it back during, this time and kept a good holdings, now at this point with this surge, then they are able to secure the funding to continue this project. So I don't see that being too big of an issue, but it seems it was more of a grassroots thing opposed to some of these newer things that have all kinds of marketing budgets. So the unknown exchanges, but again, BitGrail did work. Everything was good with that. There's no mobile app, which if you're going to be peer-to-peer digital cash, you're going to need a mobile app. And, in the end, if the one main play is that it's feeless split-second transactions, well, Steem already does that. So the Steem blockchain, no fees, and essentially instant transactions. There's 3-second block times on Steem. And, let me just demonstrate that real quick because a lot of people don't realize that. So if I have Steem, I can, go ahead and transfer, and let's just send this let's send it to reseller. He does a lot of videos on crypto and on like reselling items on eBay and Amazon. So let's send him, let's see, YouTube, demo. So we're going to send him one Steem. Boom, boom. So it's processing right here. It's done. Let's go over to his thing. Let's look at his transfers. Just refresh that one Steem right there. Boom, it's already there. It's essentially instantaneous, and don't be confused by this fact that we're connecting to this website. There's many ways to connect to the Steem blockchain. I could have done this through a command line wallet. I could have done it through a desktop wallet called Vessel. This is a decentralized system. Steemit Incorporated does not know our keys or anything like that. So don't become confused that this is almost like a centralized thing, like being on an exchange like this, because it's not. So you guys see that, like Steem already has it. Steem is on Bittrex, Steem's on Poloniex, on HitBTC. Steem has a very large community. There is a mobile wallet called eSteem, or I don't want to say like a mobile wallet, but you can blog from the phone app called eSteem. There's a lot of development that's happened here. There's people live streaming on the Steem blockchain. There's tons and tons of stuff happening. So this infrastructure is more built out, whereas with, the RaiBlocks is mainly just for transactions, which is something that's needed. But I will say that another kind of a negative thing to it is it's not anonymous, which in a lot of ways that's good. Like for instance, Steem is not anonymous. And so, we can see like all these different transactions. And I actually did this yesterday, this demo, and then I had to redo this video, but I sent one to Rules for Rebels. You can go follow him and all that stuff too. So what I'm going to say is that RaiBlocks is very intriguing, and the system they're using is very intriguing, but the infrastructure is going to have to be built out more. The exchanges are going to have to expand. Hopefully it does get on Binance. I took the speculative investment. I wanted to only put in $100, but because of the way the withdrawals were, I ended up putting 270 bucks in. This could pull back. You know, so if you are going to go ahead and do your research and you think it is a good pick, you might want to stay a little bit light, knowing that it probably will pull back and there will be a breather. And then maybe you can increase your position, kind of double down. But I think I kind of feel like the pump is going to continue, and it could shoot up here in the upper 10 because people are super intrigued by IOTA. And you know, it's more going to be for the Internet of Things. But one thing I wanted to say about these coins are called DAG coins. So this was like the original, kind of one of the first that was working on this type of structure. And you know, the other DAG coins are Byteball and IOTA. And obviously there was a ton of hype around IOTA. But one thing I want to say too is that like Byteball achieves consensus by relying on main chain comprised of honest, reputable, user-trusted witnesses, kind of like Steem. You know, you trust these people, that's who's controlling it, and that's how they're gaining consensus. So IOTA achieves consensus via the cumulative proof of work of stacked transactions. So with IOTA, you actually have to confirm a couple other transactions along with kind of your own transaction. You have to mine your own transaction. You have to confirm a couple others for that extra level of verification. It's called the tangle. It's very interesting. So RaiBlocks achieves consensus via a balance weighted vote on conflicting transactions. So the transaction is pretty much going to just go through and it's going to trust it. But if there's a situation where it's a double spend, that's when it's going to go to the node that has the most power, you know, the most amount of stake weight. So it's a very interesting system, and I think people will become curious about it, you know, just like I was and studied it a lot. Now, the DAG stands for Directed Acyclic Graph. I just wanted to say that. I know somebody's going to kind of ask maybe more about that. And, you know, the Genesis balance, it's a fixed quantity. It's not going to increase. So you're not going to have the inflation like we said. So in the end, you know, really in the end, you guys have to decide. And again, this isn't financial advice. You know, I might just be a basement dwelling man baby over here for all you guys know. I don't have a Series 7. I don't have a Series 66. I don't wear a suit every day, you know, that kind of thing. So you guys got to do your own research. You guys know that, you know, so don't just 100% take my word for it. Yeah, I've looked into it a lot, went through the white paper, been studying. I did take a position, but you have to decide for yourself what you guys are going to do. That's the video for today, guys. But go ahead, if you're over on Steemit, go ahead and follow me over there. We can do a lot more interaction over there. It's hard for me to reply to all these YouTube comments. And if you see over here, you know, people can post comments, and then I can upvote, and you know, actually you'll start earning rewards just by commenting, whereas on YouTube you're not going to earn anything. And then you can, you know, put up your own blogs and start earning. And these earnings are a lot more than what it looks like, because the liquid earnings are paid out in Steem-backed dollars, and Steem-backed dollars are going for like $8 a piece. So you're actually getting paid way more than what this actually says. So I recommend that everybody be on Steemit to some capacity. I just think it's a lot better system, and you can interact and get paid. So, but follow me on Twitter and Instagram as well. Subscribe on the YouTube channel and like the video, and I'll see you guys later.